Alright, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you in this beautiful, sunny Monday, May. Yeah, we're in May. May 13th, 2019. It is a little bit after 10:15 this morning. We are at a nice balmy 52 degrees. The weather is gorgeous. Still not quite shorts weather when there's a breeze, but it is very nice outside. Had a bunch of stuff to do this morning, so we were up bright and early. We got it all done. And now we are rocking another RPG du jour. First of all, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. We are like 5 subscribers away from 500, which is super exciting. I never thought my channel would be this big, although 500 in YouTube lands is not big. It's big to me, and it's because of you guys. So thank you so much. It means a lot. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Let's grow the meanie army. Second, I'm on ZellyPay, www.zellypay.com, and you can just put my email address in there, jpolak@gmail.com. That's jpolack@gmail.com, and you can send donations to the channel. It helps keep me doing this and pays for stuff. I eventually would like to get a new camera. This one is fine, but I want to upgrade to a slightly better camera that I can move around. This one sits on top of my monitor, and it's not very versatile because I'd like to do some screen downs of game books and stuff, or maybe when I'm doing an unboxing video, it would be a real treat. So anyway, but that takes money, and I sadly am unemployed, so that's stuff I don't have. Anyway, so we got the like and subscribe, hit the bell to be dinged when I donged. As always, I'll put notes down in the doobly-doo for all the links to everything. DriveThruRPG. I don't get sponsored by DriveThruRPG, but I do think they're a phenomenal service. So if you're looking for a PDF of an RPG and your favorite game store doesn't sell it, web-based store doesn't sell it, go check out DriveThruRPG. It's the world's largest PDF archive of RPGs, and their prices are usually relatively good. So anyway, go check them out. And also, I can say I think I'm one of the few, if not the only YouTuber that has special consideration that I can post YouTube videos in the review section of DriveThru. So when I do a review of a game that's on DriveThruRPG that I've bought or a vendor has sent me, I am allowed to put up a YouTube video in that. So definitely take a look down in the review section. If it's a game I've reviewed that I've gotten through DriveThruRPG, you should see a link down there. And if you don't, let me know so that I can go upload it, because I might have dropped the ball and forgot to do it. Excuse me, a little frog in my throat. I'm getting over being sick. I've been sick for the last week. It started coming down a week ago when I was at Ostacon. You guys can't see. Let me see if I can get it down there. Yeah, there we go. Ostacon. I was at the Ostacon 2019. I had a blast. Big shout out to Michael and his wife Katie and Justin. They ran the convention. I did an after con report in the archives there. Go check it out. It's totally very cool little convention. If you're ever in the Minnesota area, down in Austin, Minnesota, and if go stop by the Spam Factory, and then when you're done, go check out the con. They're going to try to do it again the same time next year. So they just sent out an email first thing this morning saying they were going to try to lock down the dates and everything. It's at the National Guard Armory. It's really easy to get to, literally right off the freeway. You turn off the freeway, boom, it's right there. So anyway, as always, like and subscribe. Mr. Mean appreciates it. Another special announcement. Tomorrow night at 7:30 CST, I am going to have the one, the only, the most awesomest, amazing Storn Cook. If that name rings a bell, if you've been in the RP industry for a couple of years, you know his name. He is an artist extraordinaire. He has done work from Champions on up to, you name it, Mutants and Masterminds. He's been, I think he's got some work in, what else did I see him? Oh, I think he's got some work in not World of Lazarus, but the Mutant Age. He's been around. He's obviously done a lot of work for Green Ronin. He's a very prolific artist, and he does commissions and everything. And he's, I think, his comic book style art. He's done a ton of art for Legends of the Five Rings. And his art is amazing. And like I said, you can commission him as well. And we'll have all the links in doobly-doo in the show notes tomorrow night. And then that'll get posted late tomorrow night or early Wednesday morning. He is on East Coast time, and I'm on Central time. So I think we're only an hour apart. So it should be 7:30ish my time, I believe. Let me double check. Let's get our facts straight here on the Mr. Mean Show, because if anything, we strive to be totally incorrect, because that's how we are. I don't want to see that. I want an email from Storn. Let's see what he says. Let's shoot for 7 p.m. Eastern, so I believe that's going to be 8 p.m. my time. I always get them confused whether it's backwards or forwards. I can't remember, but either way, it'll be 7 p.m. Central Time, my time. I think. I don't know. Stay tuned to the channel. I'll put something on my Discord channel to let you know when it's happening, and then we're gonna record it, and then we'll put it up there, and you guys can watch it. And I'm gonna ask a lot of crazy questions, because you know Mr. Mean and how I do it. I like to keep the guests jumping, and Storn is one of my all-time favorite artists. I really dig his work, and it's super cool that he agreed to come on the channel and do an interview. I saw him on MeWe. He was posting on, I don't even remember what channel it was, and I just sent him a message out of the blue saying, "Hey, love your art, big time fan. I run a small YouTube channel. Any chance you'd come on and do an interview?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come on." I was like, fanboy. So totally excited to see that. I don't know if Storn subscribes to my channel or not, but dude, I'm so happy to have you on the channel. I can't even express my gratitude to thank you enough for coming on my channel and doing a little video du jour with me, and we'll talk about all of his gaming creds and everything, and see where you know, because I'm pretty sure he's a gamer. Well, so we'll find out what games he plays, and we'll dig deep into it. We're gonna go into Storn there, and we're gonna talk about it. But today's video du jour is a blast from 1993. I'd been looking at this on my game shelf for quite a while, and it's a game. It's one of my favorite games. It's a spin-off of one of my favorite games, and it's Cybergeneration. This is the second edition. I had first edition. I don't know what happened to it. It through the years it disappeared. This one got coffee spilt on it, and I remember it happening. It was my fault. It was sitting on the game table in my office in my house back in California, and I spilled coffee, and I dried it out. But it is definitely lovingly well used. It has stood the test of time. This retailed at the time, I don't even know. I don't know what the price was back in the day, because all it has is the IS bin on it. So I don't know what the cost is. I do know that right now you can buy the PDF on Drive-Thru RPG of the second edition for a whopping $11. $11 will get you a complete game. And I'll put links in the doobly-doo. There's also all the there's an adventure called Bastille Day, and there's a bunch of source books that really expanded this a little bit and gave you a bunch of new stuff and cool stuff. And we're going to talk about this book because I don't own any of those expansions. So Corey or Mike, if you're watching this, feel free to send those to jpolak@gmail.com through Drive-Thru, because I would love to own copies of these. This is Cybergeneration. Those that don't know, this is the add-on, or it's a separate game. All you need is this to play. In the first edition of this, you did need the Cyberpunk rulebook, but now they made it its own set. It comes with all the rules, and this is, again, 1993. It's a few years. It's 7 years in the future, because Cyberpunk took place in 2020, which, hey, funny enough, next year we'll be there, and it ain't nowhere near what it was in the Cyberpunk game. But this is 7 years in the future of this Cyberpunk timeline. And this is copyright 1995. So I think the first one came out in 93, and then they did a revised edition. Yeah, they did a revised edition of the second edition in 95. This is a cool game, kids. I'm a big fan of a stat, a skill, and a 1d10, and that's the Cyberpunk system. There's a number of games out there that use it. I'm a big fan of a D10 die mechanic, and of course Cyberpunk and Cybergeneration have that mechanic. And so you take a stat, you take a skill, and you add a 1d10. And you play the role of Jews. That's what juveniles, Jews. The street slang for them is Jews. And it's the incorporated states of America, because the government has come back, and remember, in Cyberpunk 2020, they're kind of ruled by the corporations. The government was there, but they were ineffectual. Well, the government made a deal with the corporations to bring them in, incorporate them, and pretty much the corps still run everything, and they give a fallacy of power to the government. But now the government is being backed by the corporations, and therefore have a little clout. They have a little money, and they're able, and of course it's whatever the corporation wants, but it's like I said, it's the power behind the throne kind of deal. But the government is still there. You play an altered juvenile between the ages of, I believe, 8 and 19, and you're trying to survive. It's not your parents' cyberpunk world. The days of overt corporate espionage are kind of gone. Now everything's super covert. The corporations are trying to put on this shiny face that they're here to help you, and look what they've done for the governments. They've made the governments impactful again, which in a way they have, but it's totally self-serving. I mean, don't let the chrome gloss fool you. This is a subservient to the corporations. The government is they're just a figurehead. They have no real power. The corporations still hold all the power, but they've candy coated it and try to shove it down your throat and tell you that it's for the betterment of society. It's really for the betterment of the arcologies and the corporations, so they can get richer and they can just hide their money better, and yada yada. All that corporate intrigue and everything that you loved in Cyberpunk 2020 is still here. There's just a nice chrome veneer over it. And so in this game, you play the kids of those cyberpunks in 2020. So instead of walking in a room with guns blazing, you might sabotage the local food machine to give a mild case of poisoning to everybody. It's all about being covert, and I mean, you could still go in guns blazing, but you're a kid. You don't have the chutzpah that the cyberpunks have. You still got all your core stats: intelligence, tech, body, reflexes, move, empathy, cool, luck, and attractiveness. It's a cool game. Basically, what happens is you fit into one of these gangs, or go gangs as they call them. And the way that this game approached it, I think, is really novel. And what I really like about Cybergeneration is they took a completely different path to bringing you into this game. I think the immersion is phenomenal. They did a really great job, because the first 3/4 of this book is almost like a solo adventure, or a group. If you have a group of players that wants to play it, but you got to be in the mindset that you're playing teenagers, young people. You're not Rach Bartmoss or the solo Morgan Blackhand. You are a teenager or a young kid, and you look at things differently, and they go to great lengths to tell you about that, which I think is really cool. We're going to kind of flip through the book here a little bit. They intersperse everything. They make it look like a tactical readout, because basically the Bureau of Relocation is a government subsidized by the corporation's agency that is going through and siphoning up and arresting, for the betterment of society, arresting all these juveniles, because there's a thing called the carbon plague. And what's neat about the carbon plague is, if you are age 20 and over, it will most likely make you really sick, and you will either die or you'll come out of it unscathed. Nothing will happen to you, but it won't do anything to you. I mean, there's no middle ground. You're either dead or you're fine. But if you're between the ages of, I believe it's 8 And 19, you have about a 20% chance of being changed by the carbon plague. And for lack of a better word, you gain superpowers. It's all micro nanotechnology that's thinking and evolving and doing things. Nobody knows where it came from. It's called the carbon plague, and you basically get powers, but only 20% of you do. And then there's a breakdown within that 20% of those that will actually get what powers. Virtual reality is you have virtual terminals now, so you have a little stud that usually you wear somewhere on your temple, and that allows you to, it's a Vitrode, basically a virtual reality electrode, and it allows you to access the internet and virtual reality. So that's common. So no longer is it the cyberchrome glasses and all that. It's just a little stud that you wear, and it lets you access virtual reality. Because remember, it's 7 years in the future from 2020. And so what's nice is they do a great job of really immersing you in being a young adult and or teenager. I don't know too many people are going to want to play like an 8 or 9 year old, but I'm sure there are people, because they wouldn't have made it if they didn't. And then they take you through this character generation process that is also your first adventure. So it's really cool in that aspect, and everything's done like in a computer layout. Like these are supposed to be buttons that you're supposed to push to tell you, and Morgan's sitting here narrating on the opposite page, telling you, are you an Arco runner? Are you a Beaver Brat? Are you a Board Punk? Are you a Mega Violent? These are the different gangs that exist in the 2077 or 2027 Cybergeneration world. And so you start your character creation with that. And so you'll pick the one you want. I personally really dig the Street Fighters and the Mega Violence. I really like those guys. The Vidiots are pretty cool. They're guerrilla media and communications expert. And they give you a brief, like Go Gangers or Bike Gangers and Speed Freakers. Golden Kids are super rich heirs of the corporate state. The problem is the Bureau of Relocation, they don't care who your parents are. They are subsidized by the corporations through the government, and they are rounding up all these kids. The backstory that the player characters don't know is that you're being rounded up by the corporations to be studied and dissected and figure out how the corps can turn you into an asset that they can use, because cyberpunks, the corporate solos are a dime a dozen now, and everybody's got one. So they're looking for that next edge. They want the next benefit to get the edge on their competitors. Face dancers are face-changing actors and identity role shifters. Squats are homeless scroungers and urban pack rats. Tribals, high-tech deadheads and neo-Native Americans. So there's something in here for everybody, and it's 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 18 different introductory character classes, basically, and you'll choose one of these, and they'll give you a basic set of abilities, and they call them the Yo Gangs of Generation X. So Yo Gangs is youth gangs. Remember, everything's abbreviated and stuff, so it sounds cool. And so there's a little fact here. 2027. Over 50% of the children born on the streets don't know both of their biological parents. The nuclear family is a rare breed, as the dangers and stresses of poverty have pushed it to the edge of extinction. In the corpse zones, Jews are being either brainwashed or ignored, crammed into cookie-cutter personalities, while their parents have sold out and left them at the mercy of the corporate system. And then it goes on. On the outside, street kids are fighting for a means to live while trying to find some place to call home, even if for a little while. So yeah, homelessness is beyond, obviously everybody wants that corporate job. Everybody's sold out, including your parents. Your parents might have been those, bleeding edge cyberpunks, but now they've sold out because, you get too old, your reflexes aren't that great. You sell out to the corporate sector, because now you've got kids and you want to provide for them. So it really sets the tone that it's really oppressive and it's disheartening, and there's just nowhere to go. And so these kids basically become these yo gangs, these youth gangs, and they've reinstituted a thing called an ethical code of honor because they feel that their parents don't have one. They sold out to the corporate, and everybody knows the corps are the bad guys. And the kids don't want that. They want a future, and they're smart enough and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed enough to believe that they can do things that are going to change the world, because that's what youth is. And so you fall into one of these yo gangs, and then that's how you start building your character. And as you build your character, you go through this kind of pre-made funnel, if you will, to steal a term from Dungeon Crawl Classic. And then when you're spit out the other end, you most likely will survive, and you'll have these powers that will help you survive in 2027. And then you start role-playing and, playing your adventure. And they give you all the different stats, the subculture. Each page gives you a piece of art and a little blurb about them and your belongings. Your yo gang skill is tunneling. Like for the Arco runners, right? Yeah, Arco runners, you get the yo gang skill. And this is like your special ability and your special skill in Cyberpunk. It's your special skill and that only you get access to as a part of that yo gang is tunneling. And this is your ability. Their motto is don't live in the arcologies, live through them. It means you know how to get past maintenance bots and security bots. You know how to, reroute subroutines and how to open elevators that other people don't have access to and stuff like that. You know the ins and outs of getting around arcologies. So that's very handy if you're running, espionage type stuff. But again, you're a kid, so you're doing it in a juvenile way as opposed to how an adult would think about doing it. So, and there's all these, like I said, there's 16 of them or 18 of them. Once you're done with that, then you kind of go through a little scenario where you have to evade the Bureau of Relocation, and it gives the GM notes on how to do that. And then you get into another safe house where you're given some money and you're told to go shopping so that you can blend in with all the normal kids in the arcology, and you get 1,000 credits to go buy stuff, and it won't get you much, but it'll get you some stuff. And he tells you basically don't spend it all on guns, or armor. You need to buy some fun stuff, a game or video trodes or whatever. Then you get your assessment where you actually start building your character. So you've chosen your yo gang, you get your special skill, and now you get to distribute your points among your attributes. And it tells you what your attributes are. It tells you how many points you get. Let's see. Yeah, you have 50 points. And you distribute those 50 points among those attributes of intelligence, reflex, cool, tech, move, luck, body, empathy, and attractiveness. And like I said, you go through that. And so then you spend that. Tells you what all the things are. Tells you and you also get your skills. You get your yo gang skill and then all your regular skills. And then you get your points to distribute. And I believe it's 40. I think it's 40. Let's see. Now, I had it. We're going to stick with 40. I'm pretty sure it was 40. It's just not, and it's driving me nuts. Now that I knew what it was before, and now I can't figure it out. So, but then you go through your character creation. You do the safe house shtick, and then you start going. You get moved one more time after you do your shopping. You get locked into this room, and then Morgan basically drops the knowledge on you that you're infected. It is literally a matter of time before you go through the change, and the change is going to be one of two things. It's either going to change you, and you'll have these powers, or you're just going to get really sick and nothing's going to happen. Well, three changes. You're gonna metamorphosize into a cybergen. Nothing's gonna happen, or you're gonna die. Those are your options. Cut and dry. So you do your shopping. You get locked. You get moved to a new safe house that has the resources to keep an eye on you and monitor the change. And then once you hit the change, and it's a really cool section in here for like shopping and what all the tech does and everything. Virtual reality. I mean, they kind of break down the technology just a little bit. And then you go through the change. And there's a blurb that you read about the plague and your players, and then your options are. Let's see, does it give us? No, it doesn't. I wish it would have done the faceplate. But your options are. Let me see here. Let's find it here. Yeah, you'll be a tin man, a wizard, an alchemist, a scanner, or a bolter. A tin man exudes and reshapes super carbon metal to create bionantic versions of cyber limbs and weapons. So you have a silvery sheen, and you can give yourself armor, you can give yourself a cyber arm, you can make a cyber gun, and you can shoot all kinds of crazy stuff. Wizards directly enter virtual reality space like bionanic cyber decks. So basically, you don't need a cyber deck anymore to run the Matrix. Alchemists use nanotech factories to assemble things from raw materials, just as artifactories do throughout the Cybergeneration world. They can disassemble things just as easily. So, very cool there. Scanners are basically, you can read people's minds, and like a walking EEG. Bolters are the guys who fire. They're basically living taser guns that fire nanofiber chains to throw direct electrical arcs like hyper enhanced tasers. In short, each type is adapted to fill both combat and non-combat roles and to work naturally together as a team. And nobody knows how this nano plague came about and how it got released. But all of a sudden now these kids who have more cohesiveness and the will to change the environment that they live in than their parents do, the cyberpunks from a generation ago. And so these are the new cyberpunks, or the new cyber generation. And so it goes on to describe all the powers. It's super cool. Like I said, I really dig the alchemist. I like them all. They're all good. But the point is you make a party of all these powers, and then you go and you do adventures. And the book is just really pushes you in that way to really set the tone in the environment. And I think it was a game ahead of its time. It goes into how you do things in combat. So the last half of the book is basically how you do things. Saturday night shuffle instead of Friday night firefight in the Cyberpunk book. And you just go in and it tells you how to do everything, gives you some stats, cyber decks, for all that stuff. What's neat about this is they went in and they thought really deeply about your kids fighting adults. So if you're a bolter and you're going up against a solo, your firearm skill is only half of whatever. So say you put 8 points in it. When you fight a soldier who's an adult who's trained at killing people and warfare, your shooting skill only counts as half, because you're a kid going up against an adult. And even though you have these powers that kind of make up for it, you're still at a disadvantage because you just don't have the life experience. You don't have the training and the skill that these combat veterans do. So whatever your specialty is, it counts as half. And I think you can only buy it up to a maximum rank of 8. Even your attributes can only be as high as an 8. Whereas a cyberpunk character can have an attribute of 10. So you're limited. You're a kid. You don't have those full-blown abilities. Now, of course, as you play the game and you get experience, you can up those attributes accordingly. And it was just a fun game. I played it a couple of times back in the day. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked running the players through that kind of funnel, and that was character creation and teaching players about their abilities, because even once you get done and you go through the change, the next step is you kind of go through a thing on how to use your powers, and then you get thrown out into the world, and there's some information in here on pre-done adventures. But then there was Bastille Day, which is a big adventure and our story arc, and there were some other books and stuff in the like. So, man, super cool game. Was way ahead of its time. I would love to see in about 3 years after 2077 comes out, because there is a new edition of Cyberpunk coming out in 2020. I would love to see them redo Cybergeneration. I think that would be awesome. And I think it would sell. This was little known. I don't know how many people know about this. I mean, I didn't see it a whole lot. I saw it at my local. I remember I bought this at Ian's Games in Vallejo, California. But I mean, did you guys ever play this? Did you hear about it? Did you know about it? Do you have a copy? Am I the only grognard that has a copy of this? And like I said, mine's coffee stained. You can see the coffee on the bottom. Some of the pages are a little worse than others, like especially in the back of the book, you can see. But it's in relatively good shape. Other than that, the corners are dinged a little bit, but the book itself it's not falling apart. It's really well put together. And like I said, you can buy the PDF for a whopping $11. I prefer the hard copy. I'm not even sure if you can buy the hard copy off of R.Talsorian's page or not. I hope you can, because it was a great book, and aside from the coffee stains, this one's in good shape, so I don't really see a need to rebuy it just to have. I mean, if the pages were falling out, I would buy a new copy just to keep it in my collection. But I've been reading it, I've been enjoying it, and I just thought, man, I kind of want to run this again because I think it would be fun. But I don't know if my players would enjoy it or not. I think they would. It's a fun story. And it's a game that kind of puts you in a different perspective, because not everything is death and combat. It's about kids, and I think it's kind of a good throwback to finding our inner childhood and being a kid again, and maybe not blowing everything up and putting bubble gum on the security card reader just to annoy the adults, because that's what kids would do, right? So let me know what your thoughts are. I'm a big fan of it. I'm glad it's in my collection. And let me know, you got any fun stories that you play. Do tune in tomorrow night if you can. I'm gonna, like I said, I have that chat with Store and Cook. If you can think of any questions you want to ask him, just feel free to email me or hit me up on my Discord, and we'll go from there. I'm actually gonna try to set it up so that we record it in Discord, so people can ask questions. And it's not necessarily going to be a Q&A with Storn Cook, but if someone pops a really good question, I'll ask Storn, and we'll see if we can get an answer. So anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Remember, Mr. Mean says peace and hair grease. And remember, guys, be nice. Take care, everybody.